Welcome everybody to Katawa Shoujo episode 23. Haha, and I kind of dick teased you all. I apologize, but not really. In the last episode, we were running late, guys. Come on. Anyway, so you can imagine what's going to happen in this one. Without further ado, we were playing a blindfold game with Lily, and she's a little bit of a teaser, and she likes to giggle. She's an adorable giggle. We've never actually heard a giggle, but I just imagine it's just like this really tee-hee kind of like giggle. Anyway, let's go straight back into it, shall we? Load. Blackout. With a measure of unease tempered by curiosity, I do as she says and lower the blindfold over my eyes. The world becomes dark once again. I reflexively tense as I feel Lily's hand gently brush the side of my face, entirely unable to anticipate her touch. I really need to get more used to contact like this. Even after the weeks we've been going out, it isn't natural as natural for me as it is for her. Silence? Hey, Lily. Shh. I obediently follow her instruction and quietly listen, trying to make out something, anything that's happening around me. Compared to before, when I was chasing Lily, the need to carefully navigate the room's obstacles was now gone. I could take my time and concentrate much harder on listening. It takes a while, but I can eventually pick out the soft sound of her breathing in the otherwise dead silent room. In, out, in, out. Measuring it against my own breathing, I realize it's definitely deeper than normal, especially for her. What's she doing? Is she getting all fingery? Another sound makes its way to my ears, one that I can't identify immediately. I don't think I've heard it before, but my heart skips a beat as I realize the source, my hand almost reflexively reaching out towards it. Her face feels softer than usual under my touch, her head just barely turning in acknowledgement towards the fingers on her cheek. Hisao. I gulp and take a moment to try and calm down. I need all the concentration I can muster while I'm like this in order to fully take in my surroundings. After a few deep breaths, I think I've managed to collect myself. With a touch so light that it wouldn't disturb a feather, I start to move my hand down her body. And I can feel myself losing focus again, thanks to those thin silken pajamas of hers resting so perfectly over the curves of her body. If she's like this, then that means she has to be sitting against her bed and facing me. Now, to continue. Alright, this must be her hip. If I just move slightly downwards. Lily's breath catches as my hand comes over hers, tentatively following her fingers between her legs and losing them as they go underneath her underwear. Just as the slightest moisture touches my fingertips, but it's enough to easily work out what she's doing. My mind suddenly fills with visions of what she must be like in front of me right now, but I've never even imagined her doing this before, and being unable to see her doing the act only enhances the mood. I think that was the point. I work the blindfold upwards, brushing out of my eyes a couple of hairs that were stuck to the ribbon before. Hey, that's cheating! Hisao! For a period of time I can only guess at, my mind goes completely blank. All I can do is stare as my newly freed eyes take in everything in front of them. Oh my goodness. Just as I'd worked out, Lily sits in front of me. I think I can censor that pretty well. With one hand on the ground to steady herself and the other's fingers lightly brushing between her legs, hidden by her dark blue underwear, I think it's the most erotic sight I've ever seen. Once again I reach out and brush her hair from her face, her chin tilting outwards as she fills her pleasure-wrapped body with another breath of air. Lily? Lily looks oddly cute as she smiles at my calling of her name. Always seems like it's at the moments when she's least attentive that she lets her most interesting emotions slip out. It's not long before she works her fingers over herself faster than before, her excitement evidently rising, the scent of her sweat in the air only echoing the fact. I sit in front of her. It's hardly as if my own arousal's holding still. It's taking every fibre of my being to let her continue by herself instead of pushing myself on top of her. Dirt face! The dirt face! She has the cutest dirt face! My dirt face is like... It's strange. I'd initially found her clouded blue eyes to be distracting, almost disturbing in their lack of focus. That bothers me far less than it used to. My attention refocuses on her as she lets out a whimper, her breath coming much faster than before and her hips subtly rocking. No sooner do I realize how close to the edge how close to the edge Lily has become that her breath catches. Her eyes clasp shut as every muscle in her body seems to contract, as she unmistakably reaches her climax. For only a scant few seconds she tightens, huddled in ecstasy before her body relaxes and a long drained sigh comes from her lips. I just have no idea what to say. Silence reigns while I simply watch her, the hair hanging over her as she sits exhausted. Hisao. When she reaches out to brush my face, my urges take complete control over me. Without so much as a thought, I push myself over her frame. It's an unusual feeling being like this. I feel oddly powerful, holding myself above her blank face. As though, for the first time since the accident so long ago, I feel physically strong. Lily, I want you. To my surprise, she smiles weakly before reaching upwards to feel the side of my face. It's an almost cheeky expression, of the kind which she usually gives only after getting something out of me. You wanted me to do this? She holds a smile and gives a silent nod. I guess it was an effective way to make me take the initiative once. Blindfolded? And again, to my surprise, she gives the ribbon still around my head a sharp tug downwards. Once again, I'm lost in complete blankness. I told you to keep it on, didn't I? That teasing edge to Lily's voice, punctuated by her breathing. She never seems to lose her ability to take control of a situation. But this time, this one time... Hisao, what are you... I slide my hands underneath her, soft silk and skin pressing into my hands as I gently raise her body with a measure of difficulty. While I wouldn't describe her as heavy, her height makes her more than a handful to try and lift, well, she's a tall girl, isn't she? It only takes a couple of carefully placed steps to feel the edge of her bed against my legs, my lowering of Lily onto her sheets just as gentle as when I raised her. Your bed will be more comfortable than the floor, right? The gentleman, aren't you? I quickly run my hands down Lily's long, shapely legs, their allure far from diminished without the luxury of sight. I pull off her pyjama shorts and underwear from her ankle. I have no idea where those just went. Well, I guess it doesn't matter, they'll be somewhere around. With a minimum of fuss, I shuffle down my own pyjama trousers and underwear, positioning myself between her legs. Or at least, where I think is between her legs. God damn it. Not the wrong hole, dude, not the wrong hole! With one hand on her bed to steady myself, my right moves tentatively downwards. Whoops. My first contact with her is my palm clumsily meeting the front of her nose. She giggles a little before turning her head sideways, taking my cue. I gently cradle her cheek and use my thumb to feel the contours of her face, as she so often does with me. This would be a lot easier if she wasn't moving her face into my hand, but the feeling of her nuzzling into me is nice. I swallow to try and steady myself, take my other hand from the bed, and use it to guide myself into her. As soon as I feel her warmth around me, I quickly realise just how turned on I am. Just make sure it's the right hole, dude. I mean, you probably figured it out already, but with my sight gone, I'm free to concentrate far more on my other senses, including tactile feeling. The entire experience feels more vivid, more intense than it's been before. I slowly start to move my hips back and forth, my heart beating wildly in excitement. I feel Lily's eyes clenching shut, the movement of her cheek under my thumb reminding me of the gentle hold I have on the side of her face. It's hard to stop myself from being completely overwhelmed. It's hard to think that this is what sex is usually like for her, experienced through every sense but the one I hold dearest. From her cheek to her neck, I begin to slide my hand downwards to take in the feeling of her. The contours of her collarbone, the light dew resting on her skin. My sense of smell is stimulated by the scent of her sweat and mine hanging in the air. Even the ambient smell, noticeably different from that of my own room, adds to the feeling. When I move my hand to her supple breast, her soft mewling fills my ears, along with the soft of our act. The skin under my hand moves back and forth with each thrust, my grip on it tightening as my lust for the near-naked body of Lily before me grows. I can even feel her small nipple against my palm. My hand slides further and my fingers pluck it through the thin silk of her pyjama top. Her whimpering sounds turn to moans as she fills with the same pleasure as I. I can feel my heart beating loudly in my chest and her own beating underneath my hand. Careful, Hisao. I can feel her hands grasp my wrists, their grip surprisingly tight as her chest rises in overwhelming pleasure. More. I want more. No, dude, calm the fuck down. I can feel my chest tightening as I rock back and forth frantically, both of us entirely taken with ourselves. Mate, you died during sex, like, come on. Nothing that unusual. I just need to take deeper breaths to steady myself. This feeling is just normal. It's not normal, my dude. This isn't... I can't. This pain is too much. I stumble backwards from Lily with unseemly haste, clumsily hitting the back of my foot against the table and falling to the ground with an unceremonious crash. Breathing wildly, I frantically scrape at the ribbon over my eyes as I lay on my back. I have to get this off. I have to get this off. For a moment, everything goes blank as the rush of newfound light assaults my eyes. My breathing slows from the brink of hyperventilation. Seconds pass and I carefully measure out the rhythm of my heartbeats with every ounce of concentration I can muster. My heart is normal. Back to normal. My body feels utterly bizarre as I lay dazed on the floor looking at the ceiling. The adrenaline from before is still pouring through my veins, but my mind is completely exhausted. I prop myself up as I hear Lily getting off the bed and moving towards me. Oh, hello. Hisao, are you okay? Hisao! I'm fine. She gives a sigh of relief, her worried expression collapsing. Her face afterwards is the very last I'd ever wanted to see from her. It's a face I detested when I first saw my parents in the hospital all those months ago. Pity. Lily pities me. Oh. I close my eyes and turn away, powerless. I feel like throwing up. I can hear the sound of Lily moving away, quickly attending to herself, the ruffling of her clothing being pulled back on after a moment of searching, just barely audible. Sorry. She slowly shakes her head as she finishes buttoning up her top. Her kind smile looks so fragile, so delicate that it makes my heart sink. Approaching carefully, she feels out the edge of the low table before taking a seat next to me, putting her arms around my chest. Oh. I'm sorry, Hisao. I shouldn't have pushed my desires onto you. You don't need to apologize. I'd normally be fine. You've seen that much before. I guess I shouldn't have tried to push myself so far. My eyelids feel heavy. Knees weak. Calmly sitting next to her like this is probably letting the adrenaline work itself out of my system and let my mind relax. So that's why you never took the lead? Yeah, I guess it's a good thing you like to, huh? The joke seems to lie in her expression a little, a fact that which helps let me feel less unease about my unreliable self. Lily's head comes to a rest on my shoulder as I struggle to keep my eyes open. With more difficulty after each blink, I feel completely drained. It's okay, Hisao. It's all okay. No sooner does she say this than a small, quiet tune escapes her lips, entirely too tired to think. All I can do is listen to her soft humming. It's a soft, almost melancholic tune. It sounds familiar, but the more I try to remember its origins, the less I seem to be able to concentrate. The feeling and scent of her head gently resting on my shoulders, and her warm body against my side is soothing. Soft humming on her voice too relaxes my mind as much as her warmth relaxes my muscles. Can I hear anything? No. This singular quiet moment after all this fracas makes me realize just how exhausted I've become. I feel my eyelids slowly become heavier, heavier. Even with the chaos of before, I wish this moment would last forever. Lily and I together sharing a single solitary occasion together, just as we used to. But if that's the case, why does she feel further away than she's ever felt before? I knew it was going to happen eventually. I knew, like, because, I mean, that gets your heart racing, you know? Jesus. Whoa. The loud clatter of books falling into the return slot abruptly breaks the grip of silence over the school library. It's become a habit for me to come to the library at least once a week. Not only does the reading itself keep me busy, but discussing books with Hanako and Lily also does. Obviously startled, Yuki suddenly twists towards the direction of the noise. I'd have thought her used to people dropping books by now, since she does work here. Hello, Hisao, back again? It takes me a moment to respond, my mind still distracted by the familiar melody of Lily's humming that has hardly left my ears in the several days it's been since I fell asleep to it. That is so frickin' cute. Just saying. I know I say that a lot, but it is. Oh, yeah, just returning some books I borrowed. She casts her eyes downwards, presumably to the bin that the books dropped into. You're a very heavy reader, aren't you? It's become a bit of a routine now, pass the time at least. I wish I had free time to pass. From small talk to depression in less than 5 seconds. I think that's a new record for her. She seems a bit down in general today, even compared to normal. Considering she has to work 2 jobs just to support herself, I can see how that could take a toll on her lifestyle. Come to think of it, the pay for a job here can't be all that bad. The idea of staff in such a prestigious private school going hungry strikes me as counterintuitive. Working 2 jobs must take a lot of time. I'd probably never manage. You're lucky being a student. Do you think you'll be able to go to university? If she's asking, then I guess that's the expected result of having this kind of education. Private schools like this don't exactly come cheap. I guess. I have the money, I think. Plans which will require me going to one, and my grades are good enough. It's more a matter of how I'll pay to do so. University costs so much that I'm having to work 2 jobs to afford it to enter it. Paying for daily expenses too makes it a lot harder. If you're reading this much though, that means you're doing well in school, right? Interesting logical jump. Not an altogether wrong one though. I suppose so. I didn't find any of the exams very hard, aside from maybe 1 or 2. Do you mind if I ask what studies you're pursuing in the university? Yuko appears to genuinely brighten at the question. Anthropology, to be specific. I'm specializing in the history of classical era Athenian civilization and democracy. She really seems to know her stuff. Such enthusiasm is to be admired, and it's nice to see her genuinely excited about something. I guess even somebody like Yuko can be happy if she has a visible road ahead of her. That's good to hear if you... Both of us jump at the sudden interruption coming from my pocket. Apologizing profusely and quickly shuffling into the hallway as I fumble with the cover of my mobile phone, I glance at the screen. Weird. Mobile number I don't recognize. Considering I can count the number of people with my number on my one hand, I briefly wonder whether it's some telemarketer that lucked out. Hello, Hisao Nakai speaking. Geez, pick up faster next time. Anyway, guess who? It only takes me a second to recognize this distinctively deep, brusque voice. Oh, it's Misha. She has a deep voice? What? I've been doing this high voice this whole time. Hey, Misha, didn't expect you to call me. Yeah, like, I knew, like, Misha does not have a deep breath. Huh? Yeah, I just think I sound like her. Not all, Kira. I don't remember giving you my number, though, so I thought I'd mess with you. Oh, that? I got Lily to give it to me. Not hard. She positively brims with pride at the statement. She's trying to get me caught up in her pace, I know it. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that the two would share my number, though, given how close they are. So, what's up? You free right now? I guess. Why? Could you meet me at the park in town? I just want to talk to you about some stuff. Is that an invitation to a date? What? Of course not. She sounds suddenly crestfallen, her previous teasing nature having instantaneously left. Yes! It seems strange for her. Anyway, I don't see why not. When do you want to meet? Kind of now-ish. Wait, right now? But it's... The dead silence suddenly coming from the phone announces the fact that she has unceremoniously hung up. What the fudge? For a long time I just stand there staring at the call ended message on the screen while replaying the conversation in my head. The hell, Akira? Indeed, what the hell? Throwing a glance up and down the street, I cross the road and step into the park. I've learned to pace myself on such walks, mostly because Lily's slower speed during our forays into town means I have to consciously slow myself down. That aside, I hope Akira didn't expect me to be immediately prompt. Holy shit. That's a pretty cool, you know what's happening, boys. That is a screenshot right there. You know you will. Pretty good screenshot. It takes a couple of seconds to spot her waiting on a bench with a can of beer in her hand. The look she gives me as I walk up lacks any hint of acknowledgement or greeting. What's with that look? I needn't have come, you know. I knew you would. You're that kind of person, after all. I lower my brow at her remark as she disposes of the can. Emptied by the time I arrive, arrived, and a metallic clatter rings out. Akira takes a seat on the old wooden bench, and I follow her lead. She takes another can of beer from beside her and opens it before speaking, taking a large gulp. She seems to really like that stuff. I suppose I don't need to ask what this is about, or rather, who it's about. I heard from Lily that you asked about our family. They share more than phone numbers, that's for sure. I'd probably be very worried right now if it weren't for the total lack of malice in her voice. Rather, her tone sounds almost wistful. Idle curiosity, mostly. I have to admit, I'd never have guessed you two were half Scottish. She gives a wry chuckle of amusement. I've heard that before, trust me. The small smile falls from her face, her eyes looking ahead distantly. Aside from the an occasional elderly couple talking as they slowly walk the meandering paths and the odd aging car, it's pleasantly quiet. She didn't tell you anything else, though, did she? It was pretty brief. Your parents live in Scotland, she hasn't met them since she was 12, and she wants to meet them again. It's always surprised me how devoted she is to our parents, all the good they did us. The way she says it sounds almost derisive. She gives a small smart sigh, as if to quickly brush the feelings away. Why do you think they left, Hisao? Why do I think they left? From what Lily told me, it was because of work. I guess a pretty decently paying job was involved as well, given the way your parents seem to live. So Lily went to a private school, and that's why she carries herself with the airs and graces of the upper class. Yeah, since the business in Inverness boomed, our father decided to move directly to the same city as its headquarters. That's just a conclusion I thought you'd come to, though. You're too good-natured. You don't think they left for their career? I'm sitting here bitching to you about it. What do you think? Yamaku Academy. Always felt that place was kind of creepy. Like it was an isolated hideaway for those proper society doesn't want to see nor hear. It probably just rue the fact that Lily wasn't old enough to be shoved there by the time they left. A long silence follows her abrupt and very harsh criticism of her own parents and Yamaku. Lily's blindness is hardly something that could be simply ignored for a high-class family, attempting to keep up appearances, much less so when a lucrative offer is on the table. Eventually, Akira gives a derisive snort, her feelings coming to a head. Moving to secure our financial future with his new job posting, even at the time I hardly believed it. Not wanting to simply be an avenue for her venting, I gently tried to steer the discussion. So you stayed in Japan with Lily then? Either I stayed with her, or she went to live with an ailing mother and father. What about Shizune's family? Your cousins, then? Our fathers hate each other. I'd have been more than happy to tell them to go screw themselves and live with them anyway, but Lily wouldn't have wanted that. I'd also had an offer for a job by then, so we did our best to keep our parents' house in proper shape, and tried to continue our lives as if they'd never left. So you just lived by yourselves? Basically, Lily had school and I had my job, so we weren't exactly languishing. With her schooling, her study, and having to do chores while I worked, though, I can't help feeling like I failed her. In the end, I tried to be there for her and screwed it up. Expecting a 19-year-old to be a mother for a blind child is ridiculous. So Lily and Akira lived alone. Their parents moved, with Lily largely taking care of herself. I guess that explains her apparent independence compared to many in Yamaku. I may have lived alone much of the time since my parents both worked, but that's just something else entirely. Sorry for making you listen to my moaning, Hisao. I don't mind at all, but do you mind if I ask why you're telling me all this? You were also curious. Context, I suppose. Life isn't a fairy tale, Hisao. Some people have to learn that the hard way. Takes a long drink from the can in her hand, her face becoming more depressed and distant. I broke up with my boyfriend a few days ago. After I leave, we're not going to be able to see each other again. But that's just how life is. You can't just set your life up and expect it to stay that way forever. Sometimes stuff happens that you have to roll with, even if it means hurting yourself or others. Takes a long breath before looking up at the bright orange sky. Damn, if I smoked, I could take a nice long drag right about now and look kinda cool. I want to respond, to help her in whatever way I can, but I feel utterly useless. This kind of situation is one I've never been in, and I simply don't have the experience to say anything meaningful to comfort her. Akira looks over and evidently picks up on this, much to my embarrassment. I must look pretty pathetic right now, whining about this to someone I barely know. Hardly. I'm pretty much an expert on looking pathetic. She gives a chuckle, the act feeling like a personal victory for me. You're a good kid, Hisao. When I said that I approved of you being with my sister, I wasn't joking or just being nice. She picks herself up off the seat with a grunt, one that seems ill-fitting given her age, and throws the now empty can into the bin after one last swig. It's just unfortunate that doesn't really count for much in this world. When I said that I was leaving for Scotland, I was doing it because a good position opened up in our company's headquarters. When our folks told me that when we were at their place, though, they also gave Lily a summons to rejoin them in Inverness. Hey. Literally, that was going on in my mind. Her evasiveness when asked about her future, that awkwardness that had steadily grown between us, that uncharacteristic outburst of anger. All of them suddenly fit into place. Same family that she reminisced about having Hanukkah's birthday party. Same family that left her and Akira to themselves after taking flight to greener pastures. Now I feel stupid for never cornering Lily on what was bugging her, and never even considered if something had happened during her trip to her family's home at Inverness. And now a sense of unease grows in my chest. If her family has summoned her to join them in Scotland, all the way on the other side of the earth, has she accepted? Lily hasn't told me whether she plans to accept. Seems she hasn't told you either. That's why I called you down here to talk, Hisao. Context, huh? I sit back, my feelings of worry and frustrations no doubt written all over my face. Lily's a strong person, Hisao, but she's not infallible. I guess it's my job to worry about her, being her older sister, but I think that you deserve to know. I understand. You okay? You sound depressed. No, I'm just thinking. That's good. Thinking is good. Being rash won't get you anywhere. She looks at her watch, barely moving her wrist. I've got to go. Will you be okay? I'll be fine, don't worry. I'll have to talk to Lily about it and get everything sorted out. Gives a smile, but it doesn't feel that genuine or sincere. Really, both of us are dancing around the fact that Lily's on the precipice of the biggest decision of her life, and is trying to take the entire burden on herself. And part of that burden is the nature of our relationship. By the time I look up, Akira's already walking off, with her hand held up. For the first time in a long while, I finally have an answer to something. Perhaps not even that, but at least I now have the right answer to ask. Right question to ask. Will you leave or stay? Oh, shit. Stuff just got real, boys and girls. Oh my goodness. Are we gonna... No. Okay. Hurry, Lily, but we have to finish here because it's been long enough. It's over time now, guys. Oh, man. There's a lot that happened in that one. And not as much in one way as I thought it was going to go, but we had a lot of enlightenments from Akira there that to make this episode really interesting. Oh my goodness. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please give a like and a share. It helps me know that you guys like these videos, so please do that. It helps me make more as well. You know, it gets the videos out there so more people can watch them as well if you think other people would enjoy them. If you have any positive or negative comments to make, please let me know as well so I can improve the videos. And if you have any recommendations for any other visual novels or games of this nature, or like anything else that kind of have stories like these, you know, please let me know as well so I can get to work on them. Anyway, guys, this has been the end of episode 23. I have been Al, and now I am out. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.